Rockstar Gang, what up, what up? Welcome to yet another live stream. We got to talk about lots of stuff tonight. I got a lot to talk about. I got a lot to get off my, not necessarily my chest, but we do have a lot to talk about. Talk about the Panthers didn't really, we're going to talk about the Panthers didn't really reinvent the offense. They just gave it a tune-up, and that tells you everything about Dave Canales. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Brazelle, my guy Brazelle. Chris Brazelle picks the Chris Brazelle pick says everything, and can Chris Brazelle not be another one of those Tennessee wide receiver curses? It seems like that's one of those things. We're going to talk about that, and then of course we're going to get to the finale later on, talking about Bryce Young and that contract extension. So if you love the content, do me a favor, make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way in. Also, sound off the comments. Let me know where you're watching from tonight. We got the Whalers jersey on tonight. All right, we got the Whalers jersey on tonight. You know what time it is, right? You know what time it is. So, you know what time it is, especially, with the Canes right now, man. The Canes right now being up. I mean, it's a good time to be a Canes fan. I can tell you that. It's a good time to be a Canes fan if you're a Canes fan. Definitely going to be watching tomorrow's night's game. Won't be live tomorrow night. I will be taking my mother out for Mother's Day. So we're doing my Mother's Day dinner with my mom tomorrow night. So we will not be doing that. There's no live stream. And there probably won't be a live stream Friday because we are heading out of town as well to go see family up in Virginia. So but I am gonna get a bunch of I'm going to get a bunch of shorts out to you guys tonight. Tonight, and then, of course, tomorrow, and for the rest of the weekend. So there will be content coming out. Okay, I'm going to make sure of that. So when I go out of town, you guys have stuff, to watch and look forward to. Okay, so I'm going to make sure you guys are taken care of. All right. All right, before we get into today's live stream, of course, got to give the shout out to the chat, man. Shout out to Lomax, man. Appreciate you, man, coming through. We got to give some shout outs to Lomax in the chat. Shout out to Lomax. Shout out to Eric Blair. Love the Jersey Clay. Appreciate you, Eric. What's up, my guy Clay? What's up, SC? This boy Trizzy, 2009. He's always up in here. My guy. Underground West was good. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Man, shout out to you guys. I appreciate y'all.
You like that? You like that?
I do like that. I do like that. I love seeing people in the chat. You know what I mean? Yeah. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Got the soundboard going crazy. All right, let's dive into it, man. Shout out to Broski Bear in there. Shout out to Broski Bear. Hit Broski Bear with that air horn. Coming in hot. I missed it. What jersey you wearing? I'm wearing my my Whalers jersey. Aho, baby. Aho. Your mom's a hoe. Just kidding. All right, let's move on. Let's get right into it, man. We're going to have lots to talk about. I got a nice little slideshow to put together for you guys. I tell you what, man. All right, let's get into it, brothers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, come on in. All right, so we're going to talk about, obviously, the Bryce Young extension. We're going to dive into that. But let's dive into the first topic of tonight's evening, and that is same offense, better results. So what I mean by this, man, is you look at this, we're going to talk about this offense and Dave Canales, really, because they, again, We didn't reinvent this offense. I feel like we just gave it a tune-up, and that tells you everything about Dave Canales. That's why he's up there. We're going to kill the suspense right away. If you were expecting us to come out of this draft with some flashy new era offensive identity, something that looks like a video game on rookie mode, Madden, obviously I think there were some people out there that were thinking that and were disappointed, right? A lot of fans that I trolled about the whole Kenyon Sadiq thing. I kept telling people he wasn't going to follow us. Kept telling people that it's not something that this front office obviously truly wants or needs. Because what Dave Canales in this front office showed us is actually the opposite, right? They're not rebuilding the offense. They're doubling down on it. And honestly, that might be the most revealing thing after this entire draft to me, right? So there's that. And again, this draft, again, I want to be clear about this, chat. The draft wasn't about fixing problems. It was about raising the floor. Because a lot of teams, you know what happens? A lot of teams, they go into this draft with like a grocery list, like a CVS receipt. We need a receiver. We need a tight end. We need help here. We need help there. We need help here, right? Basically, what we did is we walked into that CVS and said, yeah, we'll just take the best stuff on the shelf. Okay. Right. The best player available approach wasn't random. We kind of knew that. We always talked about that we were in the position to take the best player available. Monroe Freeling was in. I kept telling everybody because no one wanted to believe me that we were going offensive tackle, and I predicted it. And I said it's between Spencer Fano, Caleb Lemieux, or Monroe Freeling. I posted a video on that. If anybody keeps up with my content, you know it. I called it. Right? I called it. And I also talked about trading back. But it didn't work out that way. It didn't happen that way, right? But it is what it is. I'm very happy with the draft, right? But here is the thing. The reports around the team made it clear that they weren't chasing holes. They were stacking talent across the board. Think of it like, I'm trying to put this in like a real life perspective, right? Like, think of like you upgrading your house, right? You're not fixing leaks. You're just replacing everything with nicer versions. Like, for example, my mom, like windows. All right, you replace the windows, something like that. And I think what's happening here in front of our eyes that a lot of people aren't saying, right? Like, I think Canales is becoming a CEO in some sort of way, not just a play caller. Because when I think about things like this, because this is where things get interesting, right, chat? Like, Canales is shifting into what I feel like you would call like that CEO head coach role, right? Not the obsessive play calling wizard, because he doesn't have to do that anymore. You got Darryl Brazelle here. Not the clipboard genius drawing up plays 50 plays a night. Darryl Brazelle takes that off of him, right? More like the guy overseeing everything, right? He's managing the whole operation, right? Making sure all parts of the team are moving in the same direction, right? He's even stepped back from calling plays to focus on the bigger picture, and he can do that now because you got Brad Ezek in there as the OC. You got Darryl Brazelle as basically, even though the assistant like head coach and all that good stuff, he's basically a play designer. All right. But it's not like it's not a small move. It's a philosophical move, right? It's a philosophical shift, really, right? You know what I mean? So let me get to some of these chats here. Steve-O comes in and says the Canes getting that cup this year. I hope to God, Steve-O. I need it. I need it in my veins. Earl Locklear, what's good, man? He says come in and hit that like button. Bryce and Evero are on the hot seat, Steve-O says. Bryce, stay for a long time. I think Dan Morgan and his team had a big boy draft. What it is, Clay in chat. What's up, Rodney? The only thing I question about this draft is the second round play. Like they went defensive tackle, but Hunter isn't where I would have gone. I'm gonna dive more into Lee Hunter, broski. I got a video coming out about him, so tune into that. You might enjoy it. It might kind of break some things down to answer what you're talking, or kind of like answer what you're talking about. Poppin comes in, says, when are you dropping your schedule prediction? Once I see the full schedule like laid out, Poppin, I'll do it. I'll do like I'll probably do an early prediction, and then I'll probably do like a final prediction right before like the season starts, like a week before the season starts. So once they break the games down, Poppin, like to, week 1, week 2, week 3, like that, I'll break it down. I'll break it down. But I am going to talk about how Vegas has this at 6.5. I'm going to have that video coming out here soon as well, because it's fucking ridiculous. Anyways. So, back to what I was saying is, again, what I was basically saying with this philosophical shift is that I'm not just like, they're basically saying I'm not just running the offense anymore. I'm running the company. And that's what it is. And don't get it twisted. This is still Canales' offense. Even with the CEO mindset, let's not pretend Canales isn't tied to the offense. That's his background. That's his comfort zone. And the draft, I think, made one thing very clear. The offense isn't changing. It's just getting reinforced. I do think that we will see some changing in the play call design because of Brazelle. But for the most part, it's something that probably Canales is used to, being around Brazelle so much through his career. Right? So another thing is the real priority, though, was you build the wall up front, man. That was the real priority. That was the real priority the whole time, chat. If you want to understand this entire draft in one sentence, here it is. Protect your quarterback, and everything else is going to work itself out. That's what that is what this whole draft is all about. Build the wall up front. Should I put Trump on this? That actually kind of would have been funny. Been like a meme. Would have been tremendous. I think it would have been absolutely tremendous. I'm just kidding. Just making a joke, chat. Just making a joke. Making a joke. The wall. Build a wall around Bryce Young. Just, it's a joke. If you can't take a joke, come on. Can't take a joke, come on. But that's what it was. It's really build the wall up front. It's literally protect the quarterback, everything else will work itself out. Again, you add the pieces like Monroe Freeling, Sam Heck to strengthen that offensive line, on top of already bringing in guys like Rasheed Walker and Luke Fortner. And again, these are not accidental moves, man. Like, the team is saying we're going to win in the trenches first, right? That's exactly what they're saying. All right. All right. Just like keep pounding, Mr. Ricks comes in and says, shout out to him in the chat, by the way. Like that's a team saying, hey, we're going to win in the trenches first. And I think that's what they were saying with the Lee Hunter thing. I think it could go for the same thing with the Lee Hunter pick. And I'll dive more into the Lee Hunter pick because Broski obviously has some questions about that, and that's fine. People need to realize that we might have a rookie of the year candidate on our roster, and I think it's Lee Hunter. And I'll explain that in a video. But they've been learning this way for a while, because let's not forget, guys, dating back to the earlier signings, like you went out and got Damian Lewis, you got Robert Hunt, and now you have fully committed to that, right? It's like, and I know that, I guess maybe because my mind is all in construction now, because that's where I've worked in for the past 2-3 years now. But it's like building a house and saying, okay, I don't care how nice the furniture is, especially if the foundation sucks. None of that matters, right? If your foundation is shit, your house is going to be shit. But there's no way around it, right? Exactly, Poppin. No, it's exactly right. Darrell Brazelle, again, people need to do their research on Darrell Brazelle. They really do. And I've been pounding the table. If anybody has been watching, I've been pounding the table about Darrell Brazelle. Maybe get those processed blues helmets this year, right? Maybe. Oh, the wall going off. Good impression. Appreciate that. Y'all like my impression? Chucktown Panthers. Shout to him in the chat. Hell yeah, put Trump up there. Fuck. Where you been, Mr. Ricks? Lee Hunter's my favorite pick of this draft. Nice. Lewis probably needs to be extended too. He has outplayed the contract to me. He's honestly, if we're going to be honest, and I love that you made this comment, Rodney. So I don't think this is a hot take at all. I think Damian Lewis has actually outplayed Robert Hunt. Is Robert Hunt the better guard when he's healthy? But again, the best ability is availability. Damian Lewis has been on the field. And I think Damian Lewis has outplayed his contract. I think Robert Hunt is a guy that they actually probably should look at restructuring and say, hey, man, like, listen, you haven't been on the field enough. But I'm just saying. I think Damian Lewis is a guy that they got to look at extending. And I think Robert Hunt could be a guy that they look at restructuring. Say, hey, man, we're going to restructure your deal. But if you can stay healthy through a full season, we'll rework it. Right. We'll put you back up there. Right. The Panthers are sleeping on their running back position. They should have upgraded. And I can say the same. And you know what, Broski? I feel that way about the tight end room. By the way, I hope I'm going to show something about the tight end room. By the way, if anybody follows, if anybody's in my Discord, I'm going to exit out of this. I just want to share this real quick. Let me pull up the Discord real quick because I had a conversation about the tight end room with one of our tight ends actually on Instagram. He wasn't very happy with my Cole commit video. I'll tell you that. I'm going to tell you right now, he wasn't very happy with my Cole commit video. And I'm going to show you right now. Give me 1 second. I'm waiting for my Discord to pull up. What are we doing? What's up, Marcos? Discord. What are we doing, bro? Open, please. I might have to log in. Actually, you know what? We'll just go to my Instagram. Screw it. It's taking way too long. Let's talk about installing some update. Of course, you're going to try to do an update now, Discord. You always be trying to do an update. All right. So I'm going to show y'all a little. If anybody has seen my clip about Cole commit, you know what I'm talking about. The Cole commit trade. Here is, and I'm going to show you. And we'll get back to what our original program here in a second. So Jadavion Sanders decided to comment on my Cole commit video and said he's just talking for clicks. And I just responded back saying, hey, if I'm wrong, prove me wrong this season, but we do need you healthy for real. Again, I stand on business. I stand on what I said. I'm going to stand on what I say. But hey, Jadavion Sanders, if some chance you are watching my YouTube, prove me wrong. All right. Prove me wrong. And I'm not saying that I don't like Jadeveon Sanders. I like Jadeveon Sanders as a draft pick. I loved him coming out of Texas. I thought he was the second best tight end in that draft class, him coming out. So, again, he obviously didn't like my Cole commit video, as you can see. I'm not trying to fight with the players, but again, all he has to listen, I love to have a conversation with Jadeveon. We can have a man-to-man conversation. But if he somehow is watching this, I would love to have a conversation because again, I love Tre'Von Sanders as a prospect coming out of Texas. I did. I made so much clips about him in that draft pick. I thought he was a steal, getting him in the fourth where we got him in that draft. So again, he can get. I mean, I'm not trying to start fights, but you know, this is gonna happen, man. Exactly. Mike K came out last year, and actually funny that keep pounding Mr. Ricks said that. Um, he came out last year and said, you know, that he was the best player in training camp. So, anyways, I wasn't trying to start a fight with him. You should have told him the truth hurts. Now step up your play. I kind of did though, Chuck Down. I said, hey, you know what? If I'm wrong, prove me wrong this season. But we need you healthy. And we do need him healthy. I do. And I hope he gets healthy. I like JT too, but I think he needs to be healthy. And I also could be misled with him coming in 1 year and then heavier the next. Kind of weird. Yep. Again, man, I'm going to stand on what I said, though. Like, again, and if some of the players, see my stuff, they're going to see it. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, at the end of the day, you can't please everybody. Chucktown Panther, you're talking about you're talking about Mitchell Evans. In my opinion, I think Mitchell Evans has the most potential to be tight end 1. I think so too, Shane. I think so too. All right, back to building the wall, though. All right, that was the real priority. Build up the wall. Again, protect the quarterback. Everything else was going to work itself out. You added the pieces, right? Monroe Freeling, Sam Heck to strengthen that offensive line. You already bring in guys like Rasheed Walker, Luke Fortner. Get that accidental. Okay, they're trying to win the trenches first. They've been leaning this way for a while, dating back to signings like Damian Lewis and Robert Hunt. Now they've fully committed. And again, and then they barely touch the weapons, right? Like this is where fans start raising eyebrows, right? Because if you look at the board, right, the draft board, there were plenty of offensive playmakers available, wide receivers, tight ends, versatile weapons. The Panthers and Dan Morgan, his front office, basically said, "Hey, we're good," and that's no speculation. That's what their actions showed, right? And again, I think the Chris Brazelle pick just says everything. Like, let's talk about the one receiver they did take. Chris Brazelle on the surface looks like a normal pick. Like, if you look at it, it's borderline hilarious. They replaced one player with the exact same player. Leggett's big, fast, vertical. Brazelle, big, fast, vertical. But guess what? It's the same prototype, same role, same job description. But the difference is when you watch Chris Brazelle's take, you know what pops off to me? He actually has a nice route tree. He actually uses his hands to catch. He's going to have drops. Everybody's going to have drops. But this guy catches with his hands. And he's constantly his body control. That's another big thing I take away from Chris Brazelle. is his body control is so much better than Legette's is, right? When you look at Brazelle, he's around 6'4". This guy's got legit deep speed and big playability, which the coaching staff clearly values, right? That's not reinventing anything. That's hitting the copy and paste button basically. And again, they believe in the system. It's not just the play. Like, I think that this is the key takeaway, right? The Panthers didn't change the offense because they don't think the system is the problem. Right? Instead of saying, let's build something new, they said, let's run it back, but better. Appreciate that. Keep pounding, Mr. Ricks. Appreciate that. Best Billy's availability. Yep, separation. Dan said the same thing. He comes down with the ball on his feet. Yep. See Braz being a star in the making. Yeah. You know who Chris Brazelle reminds me of? I think Chris Brazelle could be that Jameson Williams for Bryce Young. I do. I do. I also think John Mechie is going to be better than Xavier Legette. I think Xavier Legette will fall down to like wide receiver 5. I'm not kidding you. I really do think that. I think John Mechie will end up being wide receiver 4 on this roster. I think it's going to end up being, Coker. And I think now Brazelle, you can put him in the slot. You can put him outside. That's the good thing about Brazelle. You can move him anywhere. That's the one thing I like about him too. He's versatile. You can put him at the X, Y, Z, wherever. All right. That's another thing I like about him. All right. But here's the thing that I want to get back to, because we're talking about Canales and the system. Like, they believe in the system. It's not just the players, the front office, the coaching staff. They believe in the system. And that's the biggest key takeaway to me. But see, Bryce Young isn't getting a new offense, right? Even with Brazelle here and all that, he's getting a better version of the same one. And I think this matters a lot, because for a young quarterback in Bryce, constant change can be a disaster. We've seen that. We've been through that. What we're doing here instead is say, okay, we trust the structure. Now let's give you better protection and slightly better pieces. It's like upgrading your phone's battery. It's like upgrading your phone's battery instead of buying a whole new phone, right? And we can also talk about the defense, because again, this is where the real changes are coming, right? While the offense may, the offense stayed mostly the same, the overall roster tells a bigger story. The Panthers are building a balanced team. They're not building a flashy one. They're not trying to win games 38-35. They're trying to win games like 24-17, 27-20, right? They're trying to control the game. They're trying to limit the mistakes. They're trying to let that system work. That's the way I'm looking at it, right? The bigger picture here is, and I think it's that we didn't draft like a desperate team. We didn't chase these shiny new toys. We didn't overhaul the offense, and instead we're getting closer than people think, right? And it's either a smart and patient approach, or it's a gamble that the current system is better than it actually is. This was a run it back draft with insurance, in my opinion. If you're looking for a flashy headline, this draft doesn't get this draft class, and this draft for the Carolina Panthers doesn't give it to you. It might be a flashy headline after, especially if things work out, because if you read between the lines of this whole thing about after the draft and with Dave Canales, it tells you everything. You build the offensive line, you kept the system intact, you swap out underperforming pieces and you trust the process. Again, not exciting, not sexy. I get that, but it's very, very intentional, ladies and gentlemen. Right? And now the pressure shifts from the front office to the players on the putting production on the field. That's what it's about. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I think here's the thing. Excel from an athletic standpoint and an athlete standpoint could easily bounce back. There's no doubt about like he could easily bounce back. Do I believe that he will? Absolutely not. I think he's a trade candidate at this point. I honestly think that here's the thing, and I came out. I think he's a trade candidate at this point. You're not going to get much for him. And so Carolina, again, I don't think that they will trade him. I think he is a trade candidate, but I don't think they will trade him because he doesn't hold much value. They're not going to get much back for him. Right? So at the end of the day, I mean, I would love for Excel to work out just because we traded what we did to go and get him. Right? But at the end of the day, man, like it's tough. I want him to work. I want Excel to work out, right? Because being a Gamecock fan, part of it as well. But he's going to have to fight his ass off this offseason, especially for this guy coming in. You still got Jimmy Horn Jr. on the roster. I think Mechie is better than Excel. Poppin', I'm telling you. I'm just telling you. If Mechie stays healthy and he gets a chance, because he really hasn't had a true chance to show what he showed. And what he showed at the end of the year with the Jets, when he was finally getting put on the field, I'm just saying, man, Mechie's going to be better than Excel. I'm just telling you, I think Mechie could work his way up this roster more than Excel can. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I've seen better route running from Mechie. I've seen better catching from Mechie. I've seen better footwork, hip placement from Mechie. And I went back to watch some of his Jets tape. Well, it's also popping. He went through cancer. Like, I mean, he had chances with 3 different teams. Let's not forget the guy went through cancer or whatever it was. I think it was leukemia, whatever it was. Let's not forget about that. You got to give him a little grace. All right, let's get back to Chris Brazelle, because I want to dive into this more because we need to get back to him a little bit, because I think that he's not just another big receiver. He might actually break Tennessee's wide receiver curse, and it's a thing. If anybody knows, if you go talk to Tennessee fans, the Tennessee wide receivers are a curse. Like they just have this curse. All right. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth that a lot of people don't want to say out loud, but I'll say it. Drafting wide receivers out of Tennessee lately has been hit or miss. Mostly miss. I'll be honest with you. Go look it up. When the Panthers grabbed Brazelle in the 3rd round, the reaction was somewhere between okay. For me, it was okay, interesting. And I think I've also seen a lot of people where it was like, okay, here we go again. But here's the twist. I just think this kid's different. I do, in so many ways. First off, when I look at this kid, and he looks like every other Panthers receiver, literally. All right. He looks like every other receiver, literally. If you lined up the Panthers wide receiver room like a police lineup, you'd notice something immediately. Everyone looks like they were built in the same lab. Tall, long, athletic, built to win down the field. Probably besides Jimmy Horn Jr. and John Mechie, right? Brazelle fits right in that mold. Okay, 6'4", 198. He joins a group that already includes big body targets, versatile threats, red zone options. So from a fit standpoint, easy. All right, but here's the thing. He brings something Carolina actually doesn't have. Speed. Like Jimmy Horn's got speed, but I think the problem is with Jimmy Horn is separation issues. All right, and I also think he gets clogged up way too easily in man coverage. Or not, well, man press coverage, I should say. Especially press. But it's not that he just runs fast for his size. It's not like he looks fast on his tape. He runs a 4.37 in pads. I'll be honest with you, man. This he's got legit speed. It's not just fast. Like, this is a defensive coordinator start sweating midweek type of fast. That's what type of player he is. And this matters for our offense because, again, we've talked about getting a guy who's got clear speed, right? A guy that has that quick strike, one play touchdown threat, right? You know, that guy who turns a 2nd and 10 into 6 points, a safe throw into chaos for the defense, right? A 5-yard slant, 60 yards to the house, right? Dave Canales has basically been running an offense that needs that sports car, right? And he finally got one. Now, you can go look at Chris Brazelle production, right? He had a quiet start to his college production, but then he just took off. The college career wasn't some straight line to stardom, but it was more like a slow burn and then suddenly just caught some fire, right? Early years at Tulane. Now, first off, limited games, just 15 total. He had 45 catches, 722 yards, 5 touchdowns. Solid, but not exactly like, okay, this is a future NFL weapon. Then he transfers to Tennessee, and everything changes. Things just clicked, right? Over 2 seasons, right? Over 2 seasons. Now, one season, I think he had 91 catches, over 1,300 yards, and 10-plus touchdowns. And then the real eye-opener was his final year. I know he had over 60-plus catches, over 1,000 yards, and, of course, I think it was like 8 or 9 touchdowns. So that's not just pretty good. That's like, okay, now you're on that NFL radar type of production, right? I think he led the SEC receivers in yards per game and touchdowns last year, if I'm not mistaken. And that's no small feat in a conference that's loaded with future pros, right? And let's not forget about this it just popped in my head. He had 15 plus yards per catch. He averaged over 15 yards per reception for his career. He's basically a walking explosive play, right? He's not a possession guy. He's not a move the chains guy. He's a blink and he's behind your defense type of guy. All right. I think this kid's just got such a high ceiling, right? Because NFL evaluators, they love the raw tools. They love the size. They love the speed. They love the routability for his size. Some even compare him to big play threats like Christian Watson, right? Long, explosive, built for vertical damage. I also see, again, I see a Jameson Williams, right? But there are some concerns for me with him. I do think that he needs to build some strength, especially against physical corners. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's elite after the catch. He's good, but he's not elite. I do think that he's got a nice route tree, but I do think that he's kind of still developing that route tree. I think he's trying to get it to a more full route tree. So in other words, he's not a finished product, but the upside is obviously very real. Now, when we first started talking about this, okay? What's up, Leon? Shout out to Leon in the chat, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat right now. What's good, SD Mark? Joust in the building as well. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss anybody. I want to make sure I give a shout out to everybody who's here. Dream 8058's in here as well. Shout out to him being in here. Shout out to you guys, man. I appreciate you guys. All right. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you're watching on X, make sure you drop a follow. If you're watching on Twitch, make sure you drop a follow. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook or TikTok. That also helps as well. But I do want to talk about the elephant room with the wide receiver, the Tennessee wide receiver problem. Let's address it real quick. Go look up the recent Tennessee receivers that have been drafted in the NFL. Just go look them up. None of them exactly have been dominant guys. All right. Some have flashed, some have developed slowly, but there's just none of these guys have been full-blown hits, right? It's just been a mixed bag at best. And that was the thing about when we took him, I was like, okay, interesting. Because even scouts admit that there's a pattern and also acknowledge that Brazelle might be the exception to his combination of size and legitimate separation ability. That's the key difference here, because a lot of these big receivers fail because they can't separate. Brazelle can separate. Again, I do have my concerns, but the separation ain't it. What's up, Corey? What's up, local kid? Shout out to you guys, man. Appreciate you guys coming through. Appreciate you. You know what I mean? Now, I do want to say what this means for our offense is that if you connect the dots, right? We already have size at receiver. We already have red zone targets. We have developing chemistry with Bryce Young. What they didn't have is a true field stretcher. And now they do in this kid. Because now defense can't just sit on the short routes with Tedero McMillan. Right? They can't crowd the box. They can't ignore the deep ball. Brazelle is going to force the safeties to back up when that happens, and the entire offense opens up. So, yes, this also says something about Xavier Legette, though. Let's be blunt. I'm going to tell you this right now. Brazelle's arrival isn't about adding talent. It's about replacing the production that never showed up. I'm just being honest. We needed someone in that role to win vertically, to stretch defenses and create explosive plays. That's what they brought Xavier Legette in here to do. He hasn't lived up to the hype. And so far, again, they haven't gotten that consistently from him. So Brazelle is walking into a opportunity immediately, right? The big picture is that this is a upside gamble that makes a lot of sense, because we didn't draft Brazelle to be a safety or a safe wide receiver 3 or a depth piece or maybe someday guy, right? That's not what they brought him in here for. Who is blowing me up on Discord, bro? I need to get out of here. I need to get that out of here, because all I'm hearing is the Discord going off. But another thing is my final thought on Chris Brazelle is this. Here's the reality. Tennessee wide receivers haven't had the best track record if you go look it up. Brazelle's not a finished product, but I am looking forward to seeing him in camp and stuff like that. And there are legit questions about consistency, but he's also faster than most of them. He's more explosive and better suited for what we actually need. So, yes, there's a risk, but this isn't like throwing a dart in the dark, right? This is more like a high performance car with a few, tweaks. If it runs right, it's going to fly. It's going to fly. It's going to fly. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Nightmare on Mint Street, Brazelle. Gonna snatch this 17 off of XL's back. in year 2. Spot on, Clay. Appreciate that. Check down, Panther. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share and support the Rockstar Report. Appreciate that, Broski Bear. And he will be our wide receiver 2 by next year. Okay. Is Bryce Young? This is going to be the fun conversation of the night with the chat and with you guys. Is Bryce Young getting a extension next? Guys, if you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit the like button. Just seen you live. Nasty Swagnor. Just seen you live. Joined and XL got butter hands. He got butterfingers. I love butterfingers. Them shits are good. All right, we got some people saying I think so. Let's dive into this, man. First things first, they just got his 5th-year option. Now comes the real test. Let's not overcomplicate this, okay? Let's just not overcomplicate this. Let's just go through the brass tacks. Let's break everything down. They picked up the 5th-year option. Wasn't some shocking, wasn't some headline grabbing move. We all knew it was coming. That was about the most predictable decision this franchise has made since deciding to draft him number 1 overall. They locked him in through the 2027 season. He's going to get a fully guaranteed payday, roughly around 25 to 29 million for the year alone. That's the easy part, right? And now comes that part that actually matters. Is Bryce Young getting that long-term extension next? Because that's where things go from a routine paperwork to franchise-defining decisions, right? Now, the 5th-year option was step 1. It's not the finish line, right? Think of the 5th-year option like putting a hold on a hotel room. All right, you get on the Marriott app. You're like, all right, I found that king-size bed. Okay, perfect. All right, $200 one night, whatever. Now, you're not committed to stay at that hotel long term. You're just making sure nobody else takes your spot while you decide, right? That's exactly what we're doing here. That's what they did with the 5th-year option. They bought themselves some time. They kept flexibility. They avoid making a rush $200 million decision. And most importantly, they are now putting all the pressure on Bryce Young heading into the 2026 season. Okay? This is basically a contract year for Bryce Young. Whether the front office, the organization wants to admit it or not, I'm going to admit it for the organization. It is a contract year. This upcoming season is Bryce Young's audition for a massive extension. It's his extension. It's his audition to say, I'm the franchise quarterback. This is not a small extension either. We're talking a 5-year contract, probably somewhere roughly between $40 to $50 million per year range if he hits. Right? That's franchise quarterback money. That's you are the guy, no more questions about it, money. Here's the catch. I'm going to tell you right now, in my opinion, Bryce Young has not earned that yet. He has not. He has not proved it. Okay? And he just hasn't. He has had one good year. And I'm going to be fair. The progress is real, but it's just not enough to say, okay, this guy is the guy. This is not the year he had last year is not $200 million worth money type of year. The real progress is real. But to be fair, Bryce Young is trending in the right direction. There's no doubt about that. Last season, he's got career highs in completion percentage, yards, touchdowns, over 3,000 yards, 23 touchdowns, led us to a division title playoff appearance. That's not nothing. I'm not sitting here saying that. That's real growth for sure. But we cannot pretend everything is sunshine and fucking rainbows because it's not. He is still inconsistent at times. He is still turnover prone in stretches, and he's not even not yet a top tier NFL quarterback. When you're talking about paying someone like a top 10 quarterback, pretty good just does not cut it. Okay? Winning the division was nice. Okay? And I'll be honest. Yes, we won the NFC South. Cool. Banner worthy, sure. But context matters. They did it with an 8-9 record. All right? And I'll be completely honest here. That's like winning your group project because everyone else forgot to show up. If Bryce Young is to get a mega extension, the standard has to change, ladies and gentlemen. If Bryce Young, and I'm going to say this again to be clear, if Bryce Young is to get a mega extension, the standard has to change. It has to change, ladies and gentlemen. It has to. And I'm rooting for the kid. I want Bryce to work out. So let me be clear on that. This is not saying that I don't believe in Bryce. This is not saying that I hope that he fails. None of that is what I'm saying. Okay? I'm going to say it one more time. If Bryce Young is going to get a mega extension, the standard has to change, ladies and gentlemen, which means some of you guys in the chat need to change too your mindset about Bryce a little bit. We're in year 4. The training wheels are off. 10 plus wins is the expectation now. No more sneaking into the playoffs. No more, well, technically we won the division. What Bryce Young needs to do in 2026, and I'm going to keep it simple. This is an easy checklist. You got to cut down the turnovers. That's number 1 for me. Cut down the turnovers. The clutch game gene is great. By all means, it's great. I love it. He's already shown he can deliver late in the games. But constantly needing game-winning drives, is that sustainable? No, it's not sustainable. That's just fucking stress. The goal should be win games early, not survive them. Nobody goes out there and wins the Super Bowl by winning games 20 to 17 every game. Just doesn't. That's not how it works. That's just not how it works. And then, okay, step number 2, the next checklist. You got to take the next statistical leap for me. 3,000 yards is solid. But are you going to be are some of you guys in the chat willing to tell me you're willing to pay him $50 million a year for 3,000 yards? Because if you are, me and you need to go have a one-on-one conversation. If you're willing to pay a quarterback $50 million per year for just over 3,000 yards, you obviously don't know how the quarterback position works in the NFL. Go look at Baker Mayfield's contract. That's just a perfect example. All right. If you're willing to pay, like, seriously, are you willing to pay Bryce Young $50 million a year for 3,000 yards every year? Or maybe we'll say a little bit over. I'm not. Go look at the quarterbacks that make $40 to $50 million a year and tell me what they're throwing, what statistics they're putting up every single year. I need him to take the next statistical leap, ladies and gentlemen. I'm looking at 3,500 yards plus minimum. That's that's the okay, he's officially arrived type of territory, right? If he's hitting that 3,500, 3,600 yards plus, that's minimum. That's where he has to be. That's where he has to be. Broski Bear. Don't talk about Sam Darnold having 14 wins in the regular seasons. Go look at that Seattle defense and go look what he had in the Minnesota. Come on now. That two different stories, bro. Add a little context to that narrative. That's all I'm saying. And the next thing for me, you got to be consistently good, not occasionally great, consistently good. This is the biggest one. No more hot streaks followed by a cold stretch. Not just one great game, just what just happened type of game. Franchise quarterbacks don't roller coaster, they deliver. So, like I said, he needs to cut down the turnovers, take a statistical leap, which means at minimum 3,500 plus yards, and be consistently good. Not just up and down. I need you to deliver. I don't expect you to go out there and go 17-0, but 10 plus wins. Right? Now, why an extension feels inevitable anyway. Here's where things get interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Even with all the prove it talk, it still feels like we are heading towards extending him. Why? Because of how they've built the team, to me. I think that they are looking to extend him. Because this front office is acting like a team that believes in him, right? The front office, the coaching staff. You look at this offseason. Heavy spending in free agency, investing in the offensive line, adding weapons and depth, strengthening the defense. This isn't a rebuild. This is a team saying we think we're ready to win now, which Dan Morgan has said this is a win. We are in win now. So you don't operate like that unless you believe in your quarterback is the guy. Broski, how many interceptions though? I'm just saying, how many interceptions? And another thing, right? You got to look at the supporting cast. He's got the supporting cast. It's there. Maybe besides, like Broski Bear said earlier, the running back room, he feels like it needed to be upgraded. I feel like more of the tight end room need to be upgraded. But you can't ignore the supporting cast that is there from the offensive line and the wide receiver room, right? Bryce Young now has better protection up front, which is true. You have more stability around him and a defense now that should keep games very manageable. So again, when we all said and done, the excuses are disappearing. There is no more blaming the roster. You can't blame the roster. There's no more. He needs more help. There is no more. He needs more time to develop. The setup is there. It's now on Bryce Young. And you go look at this division. The division is wide open again. That's another factor working in his favor. The division still isn't exactly a powerhouse. That means that the path to 10 plus wins is realistic. I don't care the strength of schedule or not. We had a decent strength of schedule last year. Another playoff run is very possible, and the expectations are rising fast. And here's the real truth. Here's where we land. The Panthers believe in Bryce Young. You can see that. They've invested like he's the future. You've seen that. They've given him structure to succeed. They've done that. But he still hasn't fully proven he deserves a massive extension, in my opinion. So, again, final thought. This is the year that decides everything. This is not just another season. This is, are you the guy year, right? This is the write the check or walk away year. This is the moment where potential turns into reality or it doesn't. And they've already made their first move by picking up the option. Now it's Bryce Young's turn. Because at the end of 2026, one of two things will happen. Either the Panthers hand him a massive extension, or they start looking at the quarterback class of 2027. And then they start asking very uncomfortable questions. There is no middle ground. There is no gray area. This is just results. Just results. So, I don't think he's going to get an. Again, I could see them giving an extension just because of just where this front office is heading towards because of what they built around the team. But again, this is the final. Again, this is the year that decides everything. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, ladies and gentlemen. CJ Bailey. Yeah, I don't think so either. We had enough results in the last 3 years. It's best to look towards the draft, a true competent quarterback next year. Okay. Okay. Dark Mythic says it. I do agree, Clay. I think that this is the year has huge implications for Bryce and the coaches. It's Dan Morgan said it best, man. It's win now mode. They're in win now mode. Points win games. I disagree. I think defense wins championships, and I think Seattle proved that this past year. I think defense is still. I still believe in the defense wins championships. I do. Go look at the teams' defenses that won Super Bowls, man. I also am a big believer that teams with a decent tight end normally is a playoff contender. That's another thing too. I keep trying to tell people that. Yep. Not winning nothing, but we're also giving up how many points per game too. So that doesn't benefit us either. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Appreciate you guys. I don't know where we're at or on likes. I don't know where we're at on likes over here on the YouTube channel. Shout out to you guys. Again, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button if you're on the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, do me a favor, click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. If you're watching on X, make sure you drop a follow or hit the link in my bio and come on over to the YouTube channel and make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching on Twitch, make sure you drop a follow. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube or X, go check out the Twitch channel. I would appreciate it if you just dropped a follow over there. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram right below, as you can see over there, Robstar92_. Same thing with the TikTok. Make sure you go check out the TikTok and drop a follow over there as well. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Great show tonight. I enjoyed chatting with you guys in the chat. I hope you guys enjoyed the content. I love to see you guys in the chat just talking amongst yourself, and you're having great conversation. This is all it is. And whether you believe in Bryce Young or not, that's the conversation we had tonight. That was the big conversation I felt like tonight. I think a lot of people also really like the Chris Brazelle conversation as well. But guys, I got more content coming out to you guys. Again, I appreciate all the love and support. Shout out to everybody in the chat. And as always, I will see you guys later. Keep pounding. Peace.